Hello and welcome to another Delboy 8-bit years. This is just a simple series of videos where I will demonstrate some of the games that I played at the very early age of me playing video games, and it will cover many machines that I owned, and generally between the years of 1976 to 1987 or beyond. Um, Generally, I moved on to the 16-bit machines later on in the 80s, but there will be the odd one that will be a little bit later on beyond that year that I mentioned. So, in this particular episode, we're going to be covering a favorite of mine, and it is a platform game. Now, the reason I'm not actually telling you what the title is that I really sort of need to define what a platform game is, because while I was researching just how wonderful I felt this game was when I played it back in the day, it was a much simpler time, and platform games, being in their infancy, didn't really have a definition. Looking at the definition on the internet today, some people will say that Load Runner and Space Panic are the earliest forms of platform game when it comes to video games. However, some people say that the essence of a platform game is the ability to jump. And the ability to jump in a platform game is defined by Donkey Kong in 1981. And so it then becomes more and more convoluted in regards to more parts that were entered into it, which is multi screen, push scrolling, true scrolling, secrets, etc., etc. But from my point of view, a platform game is where you control a character that goes from platform to platform, um, doing certain tasks until that task is finished. You then move on to the next one. That is my particular definition of a platform game. So, with that clear, I think it's best that I mention really what this particular game is. So, I'm going to switch to image view and show you and reveal that this particular game is Miner 2049er. Yes, this is a granddaddy of platform games. Um, it generally came out in 1982 across the core computers and consoles at the time, but its development went all the way until 1985, where a sequel was generated. So in that time between 1982 to 1985, it came out on 16 machines. Yes, this game was so popular that it was converted to that many pieces of hardware. So it has a massive span um, of machines that you could play this on. And because of the difference in the hardware in the early days of computers, every single one is subtly different, but there are similarities. So, what is Miner 2049? Well, basically, the plot goes like this. Bounty Bob is a member of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and he's on a mission to search through all of Nuclear Ned's abandoned uranium mines for the treacherous Yukon Johan. Bob must claim each section of each mine by running over it. There are a wide variety of futuristic obstacles that he must deal with, such as matter transporters, hydraulics, scaffolds, jet speed floaters. Plus, he must also avoid radioactive creatures that have been left behind in the mines. So, as Bounty Bob, the player's goal is to inspect every section of the mine in search of this evil Yukan Johan. What a name! Got to get my teeth in. Uh, while avoiding the radioactive creatures that inhabit the mine. Um, as Bounty Bob walks over the platforms, they start colouring in. This is the part where you're inspecting all of the mine. It fills in with a particular colour. To complete the level, every section of the floor must be coloured, and there are 10 mines in total. Now, there's only one version that goes beyond 10, and that is the ColecoVision version. That had 11. Each level is timed and must be completed before the player runs out of oxygen. Quite simple, really. So along the way, Bob encounters many objects left behind by the past minders. By collecting these objects, bonus points are achieved, and the radioactive creatures will change color, and you'll be able to kill them. Obstacles in each mine aid and hinder Bob's progress. So ladders, they allow him to climb up and down to the next platform. Matter transporters, they'll teleport him around the mine quickly. Chutes and slides are a blessing and a hindrance. Basically, if he moves over them, he'll slide down, but he'll slide down at a point where he probably doesn't want to slide down. So basically, can be awful. Also, if Bob falls too far, he dies. Now, that's the simplicity of the game, and it was designed by a guy called Bill Hogue. Bill Hogue was a Texas Instrument or Tandy employee. Okay, and he was selling computers in the Tandy stores, and he kept bugging his manager to buy more and more computer equipment because he was more interested in that particular technology at the time. When those computers came in and they were mostly Tandys, um, he started to code and he wrote some games. He wasn't able to sell them in the store, so basically he set up his own company called Big Five Software. He designed about 5, 6 games, all for the TRS 80, before deciding that this was a career that he wanted to do, and his first big game was Bounty Bob. Now, because of that particular computer's history, he only really knew how to code in a particular language. I think in that time it was Z80 assembly. So he had to learn 6502. The point of Miner 2049er was it was going to be his top TRS 80 game. But unfortunately, Tandy decided to discontinue that model of computer, and so his next computer of choice was the Atari. So most consider the Atari to be the designed machine for this particular game. Now, on the screen, I've just shown you some of the box art because the version that we're going to be playing of the 16 that I could have chosen was the Vic20, and that's because this is my journey. And the Vic20 was the earliest version that I played of Miner 2049er. Now, I could have shown the Atari one, I could have shown the Commodore one. All of those were in my hands, and I actually played those games on those machines. But the Vic20 is the one that comes to mind and the one that I have the most nostalgia for. So that's the version that we're going to be covering today. That's the Vic20 version. So when it comes to the Vic20 version, it looks a little bit like this. So on the screen, I've shown you a couple of screenshots. On the left is a nicely sort of coded title screen. It tells you all you need to know. You can see who designed the game, who converted this particular game, what the last high score was, what the title is, when it was made, and who it was licensed through. In the middle part of the screen, you'll see that for the VIC-20 version, which is slightly unique for this version, Bounty Bob drops down from the screen and moves either to the left-hand edge of the screen or the right-hand edge of the screen, dependent on the level that you're on, because that will be the start point of where Bounty Bob is going to conduct his mission. And on the far right-hand side of the screen is just a typical screen that you will see from the VIC-20 for this game. You can see the platforms, the ladders, the objects that give you the ability to kill the creatures, and of course the creatures themselves. On the VIC-20 version, they look really more a little bit like robots. Instead of them smiling, they tend to bob up and down with their heads to show that they're active. And then when they are able to be killed, they stop moving their heads. They're quite flat, and that's when it's the ability for you to kill them. So the VIC-20 version, then, not possibly the most graphically nicest of them all, but we're now going to go through a number of those top machines to show you what the graphics look like on the others. And to be quite honest, there's not that much of a difference. So here we are with the first three. The Apple IIe and the MS-DOS versions looking sort of identical. The MS-DOS has slightly less color. That's because the graphic mode at the particular time in 1982 really only catered for CGA graphics. The other earliest machine that was there, which was now starting to age a little bit, was the Atari 2600 or VCS system. As you can see there, there's a lot more color, but the graphics are a little bit sparse. When you play all of these games here, there are little quirks that you need to understand. The Apple II and MS-DOS versions tend to move a lot faster than the Atari version and the Vic20 version and some of those earlier machines. The reason for that is the clock speed was just that much faster. When it comes to the timer, therefore, the timer needs to be adapted so that it's fair for people that have got a slower machine and people that have got a faster machine. So everybody is equal in regards to how the timer works in the game. So that's those three versions of the game. The next three I want to show you are more the what people consider to be the quintessential versions of the game, and that is the TI 994A, the Atari 8-bits, which covers the 5200 and the Atari 400 and Atari 800, and then the Commodore 64 version. As you can see, the Commodore 64 version and the Atari versions are pretty close and identical. The sound, there's not much between those as well. The speed, pretty much identical as well. It's the feel a little bit more when it comes to which is different, the Atari 8-bit or the Commodore 64 version. I will say that the Atari probably has the edge. It's a little bit more colorful. It's a little bit more snappy. The TI 994A does move equally as nice. The graphics look a little bit sharper, but less color. So basically, you had quite a lot of choice onto which version that you were going to buy for this game. And then we come to the latter part of this particular um, game, and that is Miner 2049's re-releases. During the 2000s, a Game Boy version came out, a version for mobiles, and a Windows remake or remaster. Um, they are quintessentially the same, i.e., platforms, jumping, picking up objects, killing the creatures, and a time limit. But they are radically different in regards to some of them are scrolling screens like the Game Boy. The Game Boy's got such a small screen that you can't display the whole screen on one, so that scrolls around. Miner 2049 of the remake has got more of a backstory to it. You tend to find you're not colouring in the platforms, you're actually cleaning up slime that's been left all over the floor. It's little touches like that. In fact, if you want to look a little bit closer at my portfolio of games, I've actually covered Miner 2049 again as a separate game for you to watch. And then we come to the review section. Yes, this is a granddaddy of a platform game. And because of the years that it came out, finding reviews is a little bit difficult. They are out there. You'll probably be able to find them in magazines, but I unfortunately was unable to find PDFs for the Vic20 version of this game. So I've added a couple of reviews and then decided to put my own overall score. So the Coleco version got 82%. It was considered to be a very entertaining and challenging game. IGN then decided to review as a retrospective of the game, including a look at the newer mobile game. It came to the conclusion that a classic is a classic, and a game can be equally enjoyable back then as it can be in the future if coded correctly, and gave it an overall score of 8 out of 10. I then looked, and IGN did a retrospective of an actual particular version, which was the Atari 8-bit versions, going back to it and decided that the game, although aged, was still a fun romp and gave it 8 out of 10. I could only therefore really assume that the game is an 8 out of 10 or 80 out of 100. And that's how I left it with that. So with that all out of the way, what we really need to do now is the bit that I dread the most for you guys, and that is how bad am I 40 years on playing this game? And you're going to get a look at that now. So I'll put myself into the game recording mode, and let's see whether I can actually get very far in this game. So we'll press the start button. Press the start button, and the game will begin. Now, the Vic20 version has Bounty Bob coming onto the screen and then moving to the beginning of the platform, which is quite unique for this particular version. As you can see, I'm colouring in the platform, and I can go up and down the ladders. What I need to do is get up as fast as possible and then kill these creatures as quickly as I can. That gives me a little bit more breathing room. So I need to colour all of these platforms. As you can see, as I traverse over them, it paints the platform. Do note that time, though, at the top, which is my air, because that is constantly going down. Jump over here, get across here, and that last bit there, move up. Here I need to be a little bit careful, because I don't have that much time. Here we go. It's best to get rid of the creatures, because then you can go back and do these platformy bits. But you do need to keep an eye on that oxygen level. So I'll get to the end of this platform here, go down. Might as well get the bonus. Like that. Move along and fill in the last of the platform. The oxygen's turned into points, and we move on to the next level. So Bounty Bob moves on. You can see he moves to a different part of the screen, and I start over on the right-hand side this time. That wasn't very good. I needed to jump that perfectly, and I did not do very well at all. So here we go. Got that. Kill them. Got them. That gives me a little bit more breathing room. As you can see, there are lots and lots of slides and things for this particular one. And you don't really want to touch the edges until you're ready. As you can see, I accidentally touched that, and I fell down, and it didn't fill in the platform. There we are. So we've got that bit done. Slightly more oxygen for this level, as you can see. But I tell you what, most people will die on this level by running out of oxygen, and they will making mistakes, although mistakes are easily made in this game. So we'll go up here. I need to time this pretty well. I'm up here at the creature. You might as well kill the creatures. There we are. Because that now just gives me the time that I need just to fill in the platform. Or should I say, that's my plan. We'll go up here. Jump across. Get this bit all filled in. Fill in all the top platform. And now it's difficult. As I said before, you don't really want to go down these slides. So you sort of... Oh, I just managed to stop off of that. That was pretty good. I can jump across here. I can. I didn't want to do that. So go up here again. We got 500 oxygen. Can I do it? Go across. Yes, got there. Might as well do this bit here. Go down the slide. And now all I need to do is basically use 400 oxygen to try and get all the way over to this left-hand side to move over to the right-hand side and get that last bit at the bottom. Now, as long as I don't fall down a slide, there's a good possibility that I can do this level. Notice there's 2 slides. Ooh. Oh, no. I've got very little oxygen left. Don't think I'm going to be able to do it. As I said, it's a real pain in the neck if you don't get it correct. And I run out of oxygen. Got 1 more life left. Oh no. Get him. I get him. Got him just. Like I say, it's a very, very tricky game, but so enjoyable. I should get that if I fall down the slide later on, so I'll leave that. Might give me a little bit more, that little extra second that I need to complete this level. I'm up here. Gotta time this right. Come on up the might as well get the creature. Ooh. I did that. Might as well do this bit. So now that I've come from there, I know that I can walk all the way to the right now with that one. So it could be. I can remember that if I come in from the left on that other ladder, I can fill in all of that without worrying about whether I've traversed it or not. So that might also speed up this level. Got over that. Oh, fell down there. Right. Might as well do that bit. Well, still got time. Just not make any more cock-ups. Come on, Delboy. Get your ass moving. Oof. Ah! Damn. Ah! Oh. You know what? If I open my mouth, I tend to die. Oh, I did that last time. Oh. I think we're on a loser, but I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. Oh. Run at the ladder. Move across. Go as fast as you can. Come in from this side. Ah. I think we're at the end. Oh. And that's the end of that. Oh dear. I do apologise for my game playing skills there. And we'll just do a wrap up. So we'll go back to camera. So that's Bounty Bob, and that was the version that I played back in the day. So this one was around 1983, 84. And I had immense fun with this game. I liked it so much that I did hunt out the Commodore 64 version, and that then became my favourite of all of them. I did play it on the Atari 2600, and I did play it on the Atari 8-bits. And although they are much stronger versions, I played the Commodore 64 version for a longest period of time in my gaming history. And so nostalgia is very, very strong with me. And so because that machine became what I consider to be the base level of my 8-bit years, all the games that I played on there tended to be the versions that I pointed towards. Now, I've pointed out to you Miner 2049er, and there is a sequel, and I will be showing that sequel in my 8-bit years. But for now, I just want you to possibly go out, load this game on a wet Sunday, and have a try yourself. See whether you enjoy it. It's a very, very enjoyable game. And with that, I conclude another 8-bit years. Thank you very much, and on to the next one. Salute, goodbye.